Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
It is very hot here. Is it hot where you guys are? Because,
I think it's hot
ooh,
everywhere.
talk about a heat wave. I mean, it's been miserable. And I
Yeah.
usually don't mind the heat. Like, I'm usually like, like it's, not the best, but like we can suffer through. And I'm like, no, I can't even suffer through. I will be inside.
It's hot and
Yeah.
humid. It's a pretty bad combo for both. Yeah, it's been extra hot. Like Saturday, I was like outside like most of the day,
Yeah.
and it was a bit toasty.
Yeah, we went to Dollywood and there was one point where I was questioning all of my life decisions and I was like,
Yeah.
this is miserable. But it also was not very packed, so I'm guessing that a lot of people were like, yeah, it's gonna be like 100 degrees. I'm not going there on that like black
Yeah.
asphalt in the sun. And we had like one rain shower and I was like, oh my God, thank goodness. And it was like literally it started raining and then my daughter had to pee. And by the time we got out of the bathroom, it stopped raining. And I was like, and then it was just
Hmm.
humid as shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been brutal, but hey, we're complaining about it when it's
That's
cold.
true.
We're complaining about it when it's hot.
We just need
That's
those like
like
2 months or month and a half in like the spring and then in the fall when things are nice, and then that's all.
yeah. Yeah, because like last time I went to the dentist, it was January and it was like cold, like early January, very
Hmm.
cold. And we were talking about how cold it is. And then the lady was like, okay, like I'll see you in 6 months. And she's like, and we'll be complaining about how hot it is then, I guess. And I was
It's
like,
so true though.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
It's so true.
Because I go in 2 weeks and yes, it will be complaining about how hot
Yes,
it is.
definitely.
Well, that was boring, just talking about the weather. I can give you a short um baby bird check,
Oh,
and they have
yes.
hatched.
Oh.
We have baby chicks, three little baby chicks.
I'm sorry, why have I not gotten any photos or videos of this yet, Courtney?
Because I feel like I'm scaring Mama Bird.
Oh, yeah, we don't want
Mama
to scare
Bird
her
is not
away.
a fan. But I did get to peek in when Mama Bird was there, and I saw the little mouth open when
Oh,
they're waiting for food. It was adorable.
that's
They're
so
little flea balls.
cute.
I'll try to get a picture like next time she flies away and I can peek
Just
in.
try to sneak up there and then sneak out really quick so she doesn't get scared and leave.
Yeah, and it doesn't help because we have like the curtain right there
Yeah.
against it so that Nova won't do it. So when you move the curtain, the bird's like,
Yeah.
fuck.
She's like, oh no, oh no. You just can you see it at all from like outside?
You can see if Mama Bird's there or Daddy Bird. Don't know if they're alternating, but you can see if the bird is there. But you can't see eggs or
If they're
anything.
sharing parental duties. I was gonna say you
Yeah.
need just post Kevin outside and then he can call you as soon as she flies away so you can open it
Yeah.
up so you don't scare
Yeah.
her. Put
Yeah.
Kevin out in the 100 degrees to watch for Mama Bird, okay?
Put my pale ass husband out in the sun.
We'll give him some
Yeah.
sunscreen, an umbrella, a hat, he'll be okay.
Yeah, and I can always tell if she's like scared away or like hunting for food because if she's scared
Yeah.
away, she sits on the power line like waiting. So then I'm like, Nova
Yeah.
girl, you're scaring her. You like gotta move away now.
Hmm. She's like, I'm just gonna watch from a distance until I know I can come back to my babies.
Yeah, basically. And I'm just so scared we're gonna
Yeah,
scare her away too much, and I
we don't
just
want
can't
that.
do that. Yeah. I already have a bee's nest in my like outdoor outlet. Did I tell you
Yeah.
about that?
Yes, you did. That does not sound like a good
They still
time.
not come.
Oh,
We
good.
put in a work order like a week ago. They've not come. So I get scared every time I water my plants. I'm getting
Yeah.
stung by a bee. So I can't also have like a bee's nest on one floor and then dead baby birds on the next floor.
That's just a lot going on.
That might send me to the psych ward.
Yes, that's
So
some bad juju right there. Don't want
yeah,
that.
so nope. That's the only update I have. So I think on Google it said I have maybe like 10 to 14 more days before
Oh,
they leave the
that's
nest.
so
So
quick. Wow.
I know
They
10 to
grow up
14
so
days
fast.
from egg. I know. It said 10 to 14 days from like egg to hatching, and then like 10 to 14 days before they fly. I mean, bigger birds, they say longer,
Yeah.
but these seem like pretty small
Yeah,
birds. So
that makes sense. Well, hopefully you can sneak a few pictures, but between now and then.
yes.
But yeah, I don't think we had any other official updates, or none that I have seen at least. But
Um, None that I can really speak on.
Okay.
Like none that I feel like I know enough about to be
Yeah.
like, here's an update. Like, I've seen a few things like here and there, but nothing really like give an update about.
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right, well, we can go ahead and get into this episode. So our sources for this week is a missing episode that is a new series like on Hulu, and that's season 1, episode 2, Chelsea Cobo. We also used an ABC New York article, 911missing.org, and the Charlie Project. Chelsea Cobo went missing in May 2016. Her mom, Rose, has been fighting ever since to find Chelsea and bring her home. We got the privilege of seeing Rose speak at CrimeCon 2024 in Nashville and wanted to cover Chelsea's story. So Chelsea Michelle Cobo was born on November 8th, 1993, and Rose Cobo adopted Chelsea in 1999 when she was 7. So Chelsea's birth parents both suffered from mental illness, so Chelsea actually came to her grandmother, and then Rose started taking care of her at 13 months. So Rose has been taking care of her since she was 13 months old, and then when she was 7, officially adopted her. And then Chelsea's father was Rose's brother, just in case you kind of want to know, like, relation. Chelsea attended Bishop Kearney High School and graduated in 2012. She had a few steady friends, and she was a part of the swim team and theater, and she did end up going to college. She did get pregnant in 2014, and she gave birth July 11th, 2015, and she was only 21 at that point. Chelsea was taking care of her son and she was breastfeeding. However, after giving birth to her son, she was struggling, likely from some like undiagnosed postpartum depression. So she was never like officially diagnosed with it, but they do think like hindsight, she likely did have it.
Yeah.
After that, Chelsea started to want to go out more. You know, she was young. She still wanted to have a life. She's only 21. So she started hanging out with this new guy. And Rose said that he was different than the friends she usually hung around. So she noticed things happening like pretty quickly. And then Chelsea stopped being around her son as much, started sitting outside more, just kind of being really like distant and just different than she normally was. And on February 27th, 2016, Chelsea's biological mom died, and she really struggled with this, especially in addition to the postpartum depression that was likely never able to be treated. So just a lot going on, you know?
Yeah, a lot happening at one time.
So Chelsea wasn't really herself, and she'd started to self-medicate. So Rose went to the courts and filled out a paper, and she said she felt Chelsea could be a danger to herself, and they did come and take her to a hospital. Chelsea went to Coney Island Hospital on March 24th, 2016. Rose was taking care of her son, and they spoke frequently on the phone, and Nicole Rivera was Chelsea's friend, and they became friends in the hospital. Nicole had been admitted for depression and PTSD, and when she got there, Chelsea came up to her immediately, like told her she would be okay, and they just clicked immediately. They just really got along. And Nicole wasn't Chelsea's roommate, but was on the same floor as Chelsea and her roommate. And Nicole said Chelsea could have like visitors, but Chelsea's roommate was not allowed to have visitors. But remember, like Chelsea was. So the roommate befriended Chelsea and asked if she could put one of her friends on Chelsea's visitor list. And Rose knew that this visitor would come. Chelsea had told her once he came in and gave her a kiss and shoved a balloon in her mouth. He told her to go back to the room and deliver it. And Nicole did say that Chelsea and her roommate were doing drugs in the hospital, and they even bragged about it sometimes. So Rose just felt horrible about this. You know, she thought she was putting Chelsea somewhere safe, somewhere that would help her. She didn't think any of this would happen like this. You know, you think you're doing the best thing, but sometimes this can be a common issue with some of these hospital centers. Not all of them. There are plenty that do good work, but it's kind of hard to regulate these kind of things
And like,
in these systems.
what an awful feeling for Rose, because she's like, I'm doing what I think is the right thing for my daughter. Like, my daughter needs help. Like, I want to make sure she gets help. And she's at an age where, like, I kind of have to have her committed in order to get her the help that she needs. So, like, I'm going to do this. And then you find out something like this, and you're like, I was just doing the best that I could, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's, you know, you're like, oh, like I think I'm putting them in the right place and not
Yeah.
understanding like the ugly side of some of these places.
Yeah, exactly.
So Chelsea would later text a friend and say that the roommate was preying on her. And Chelsea and Rose actually had a meeting with the doctors, and she asked them to move her from that floor because she feared for her life. She never really elaborated on like why she feared for her life, but just said that she did. And the doctors even said like, hey, like you're making bad friends there, like here, but they don't move her. So they're acknowledging something's going on, but do not move her. And Chelsea checked out of the hospital on April 12th, 2016. So once Chelsea left the hospital, Nicole was switched to her room and her bed, and Nicole said the roommate would dispose of the things the drugs were in underneath the mattress, and the roommate was released a few days after Chelsea. And just so you know, like we're never told the roommate's name, so for the rest of like this episode, she usually is just referred to as the roommate. That's who we're talking about if we say that. And after that, Nicole told a friend in the hospital that she just had a bad feeling. She was like, something's bad is going to happen. Like, I can just feel it. So Chelsea returns home after being released and stays home until April 22nd. So she went out on Friday and Saturday, and she was supposed to return home and didn't. So Rose is concerned, obviously, and starts messaging her, and Chelsea's just not responding. And Rose is like, okay, like, look, I'm just going to have to report you missing because you're not home, you're not responding, I don't know what else to do. And then Chelsea did respond to that and was like, okay, and like told her to relax. On April 25th, Chelsea actually filmed herself walking through the doors as she was coming home. She did not look okay. Like, even Rose in the episode is like, she looked like hell. She wasn't making any sense and saying, like, I've been robbed. And Rose later found text messages to the roommate where Chelsea asked her if she robbed her and asked what happened. And Chelsea was just saying how she didn't remember anything from those nights. Like, she has no recollection of what happened. And she also had bruises on her arms, like the upper biceps, like she'd been grabbed or held down, something like that. So Rose called an ambulance and they took her to Maimonides Hospital. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. She didn't talk much at the hospital and just wanted Rose to hold her. And the doctors did find oxy in her system. So she is in the psych ward here for a few days, and on May 4th, Chelsea was back home but went out to run some errands. She said she was going to get her hair and her nails done, but Rose later found text messages that the person visiting in the hospital was delivering her drugs. So Rose later was able to get like all of her text history and everything, and that's when she found that out. And on May 6th, Rose heard her in the bathroom making noise and tried to figure out, like, what's going on in there? Like, what are you doing? And Chelsea opened the door and just handed Rose a syringe and said she didn't want to do it, but can't stop and that she needs help. And Chelsea did agree to let Rose drive her to the hospital.
And just like so devastating that she's at that point where she's recognizing, like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, but I also cannot make myself stop. Like, please help me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just so sad. And like substance abuse issues are just so hard because it really is like a physical addiction of like once you start, it is so hard to stop and like stay clean from those substances.
So Chelsea calls a man on the way who she'd met at a previous hospital stay, and she asked him if he had any recommendations on where she could go to detox. So they go to NYU Lutheran Medical Center. However, due to insurance issues, they said they would send her to St. John's Riverside Hospital, and they were going to have to wait and someone would take her. And Rose could not go with her because most detox centers heavily restrict the patient's contact with the outside world, and they don't allow family members to come along, which kind of makes sense. You never know who in someone's life is enabling them, so they try to kind of isolate them so they can detox alone. So Rose knew that she had made it, but Rose didn't know until later that Chelsea had found a way to access Facebook and was messaging the Coney Island roommate. She said she was out of jail and with her man, and he's so hot, and they had the good shit. And she asked for the address that Chelsea was at and said they'd come pick her up. So Chelsea did check herself out of St. John's, and since she was an adult, the hospital could not legally keep her there. There was nothing else they could really do. So Chelsea called Rose and says like she couldn't come like stay up there anymore, and she said she was with her boyfriend and was going for sushi and ice cream. And Rose was like, okay, cool, go do that, but then please come home. And this conversation was around 11:35 p.m. on May 6th, and the last time Rose spoke to Chelsea. Rose did say at CrimeCon that the sushi and ice cream have a different meaning. She didn't elaborate on what it means, and unfortunately, I was not able to confirm like what that term means. Like, not that it's not a term, I'm sure it is, but I could not find what it is.
Yeah, but if you please let us know, because
Please let us know.
I also tried to look and could not find anything either.
On May 7th, the boyfriend, who was the visitor from the hospital, leaves Rose a voicemail, says he dropped Chelsea off. He said he dropped her off at 68th Street and she's going somewhere else, but he doesn't know where. And I dropped her off, and I have nothing to do with like what she's doing, where she's going, anything like that. Which is just like weird and random to call and be like, yeah, I dropped her off. I don't know what she's doing or where she's going. Like, what?
Yeah, like you're acknowledging that something is wrong here.
So Rose started texting and asking where Chelsea is and trying to get a response. And she even sent pictures of herself crying and thought that hopefully someone would just see like a desperate, distressed mother and have some empathy and help her. And Rose said she knew something was wrong and knew it in her soul, but she didn't hear anything back from this man.
So Rose called the 66th precinct to file a missing person on May 7th, and police determined that after she was dropped off, she took a cab to Sunset Park. The roommate was initially cooperative with police. She said that Chelsea came to see her at Floridida Restaurant and Club near Fifth Avenue. This place no longer exists, but the roommate claims that Chelsea came to that location and then left with the man, and that she hasn't heard from either of them since. Later, the roommate did change her story and said that Chelsea hung out with her and some guys at a house on 56th Street doing drugs, and she claims that Chelsea left with one of those men, and again, that she hasn't heard from either of them since. And at some point in the investigation, police uncover surveillance video that shows a woman they think is Chelsea leaving a house on 51st Street on May 10th. So that would be 3 days after she disappeared. And the man at the house they were doing drugs with did live on 51st Street, and the owners of the home were family friends. So they are the ones who provided the video, and there were also possible sightings of her on the subway from Sunset Park to Coney Island. In May 2016, Rose also speaks at a New York City town hall with former Mayor Bill de Blasio, and he promised to help to do everything he could to bring Chelsea home, but he never reached out to Rose after that town hall. In July of 2016, Rose gets a call from a woman who lives on Coney Island who thought she saw Chelsea at the apartment of a man she knows on Coney Island. That apartment is just up the street from Surf Avenue, and a month later, police find that Chelsea's phone may have been turned on for a brief period in July. So the lady who called Rose said that man like frequently tries to pull girls into a lifestyle of like stripping and sex work. And she said that she had also seen scratches and marks on him, like maybe someone had been fighting him. So police interviewed this woman, but nothing came of it. They don't really know why. And around this time, the Brooklyn DA launches a sex trafficking investigation in Chelsea's disappearance, and that went on for 2 years. On June 5th, 2018, the Brooklyn DA tells Rose that they're closing the investigation into Chelsea's disappearance. They said they had no evidence that Chelsea was trafficked, and a spokesperson said they did an exhaustive investigation into the trafficking claims, and they interviewed witnesses and searched a laptop, but we don't know who that laptop belongs to, like how that came up in the investigation. But they said they found no evidence that she was trafficked, and the DA will not release the records on this because Chelsea is still actively missing. So we don't know what they have to determine that she was not trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
Police have also not been able to track down the man who Chelsea left with that night. He has many aliases. No one knows his real name or if he even exists. So the case is then sent back to the NYPD Missing Persons Squad. And Rose is just really unhappy with the investigation. They didn't try to look for any other footage from other cameras on 51st Street from May 10th, because remember, there was that one surveillance video that they thought was Chelsea, but they weren't like, okay, well, let's look at all the other cameras in this area and see if we see her again. Didn't try to do that. Another investigator did not have information that Rose says she gave to them. So she like has all of this information and she's like mentioning it. And then the investigators are like, oh, like I don't have that. And she's like, I gave that to you. What do you mean you don't have that? Like I know I
Yeah.
provided that to you.
And like they're because something they brought up like at CrimeCon is like Rose records everything. Like she
Yeah.
records everyone she talks to, she records every phone call, everything like that.
Yep.
Everything records. And there was like a conversation where he was like, the investigator was like, well, we'd have to have access to the phone records for that. And she was like, I have access to all of that. I gave that to
Yeah.
you. Like, I gave everything to you that I have. So, like, what do you
Exactly.
mean you don't have it?
Like this clearly wasn't a case of like, oh, we just can't get the information. She's like, I'm giving you everything I have and you're not even looking into it. Like you're not
Mhm.
even making an effort. So at this point, she just starts calling and showing up at the precinct like over and over again, just like constantly like, what is the status? What's going on? Like Courtney mentioned, there is one recorded phone call like where Rose is just begging for help to find her daughter, and the detective just hangs up on her. Like it's absurd.
Yeah.
So now Rose decides to meet up with one of the last men that Chelsea was with. So she recognizes the danger in this, but she's like, I'm doing everything I can to find my daughter. No one is helping me, so I'm gonna do this myself. So this man isn't the man the roommate says Chelsea left with, but the man who lived at the house where they were doing drugs. So just want to make sure that part's clear. The NYPD had interviewed him, but he was not cooperative. So in January of 2019, Rose goes to his house, knocks on his door, and he tells her that he's been telling police that Chelsea's gone. He says he told police in September of 2016, so 2.5 years ago, at his interview that Chelsea was dead. He said that the roommate from the hospital and the man she left the house with that night also knew that Chelsea was dead, and police never told Rose any of this, that any of these people gave this information to police.
Mhm.
Um, this man said that Chelsea had overdosed and was bleeding, and that the roommate had a plan to dispose of Chelsea's body. And he was asked to help her move the body, but he didn't. The DA says this information could not be confirmed. Okay, like just because you can't confirm the information doesn't mean that that shouldn't be shared as
Mhm.
part of the investigation of like, okay, but as a grieving parent, this information was shared. Like you may never be able to confirm that. Like you would just never tell her that that was
Yeah.
said.
And like they could confirm that this man said in September 2016, like, yeah, in his
Yeah,
interview, he said this. We just couldn't.
Confirm that like these people had
exactly.
disposed of her body. But don't you think you should like tell her this information? I
Yeah,
mean, she's putting herself at risk to interview this guy. When who knows what could happen to her like going up to this
yeah,
house.
exactly. When police had that information all along, like there was never a
Mhm.
reason that she needed to have gone there herself because
Yeah.
police could have shared that information with her.
Yeah.
Which I get, like there are limitations on what you can share about an open investigation, but if you're searching for someone as a missing person and multiple people have said this person died and someone disposed of her body, I feel like that's a pretty good indicator that you're dealing with, a death situation that maybe that information should be
Yeah.
shared with the family.
And I think it's an issue too, because I don't think the roommate has ever like confessed to knowing she's dead.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, we have this one guy's word, and then the roommate has told seven
Yeah.
different stories at this point. But it's also like, why didn't in September 2016 you follow that lead a lot heavier
Hmm.
when that's your
Yeah.
only lead?
When it's just a couple months of her missing versus 2.5, almost 3 years at this point.
Yeah. And the fact that the roommate's story kept changing is suspicious in itself.
Mhm.
Like, if you
Yeah.
have her kind of involved in this, according to this man's statement, and yeah, she's not saying that same thing, but she's saying multiple other things that keep changing, it's like, something is not right here.
Yeah.
So Rose gives her recording of this conversation with this man to NYPD, and in March 2019, they move it to the homicide squad. So in December of 2019, detectives used canines to search Park Slope for Chelsea's body, and Chelsea's phone has never been found, but her phone records are triangulated to this location, but they weren't able to find anything during that search. So at this point, Rose is obviously getting fed up with the NYPD and goes to social media for help. So she finds someone who's able to hack into Chelsea's Snapchat. And in the summer of 2018, Chelsea's Snapchat received 2 messages that were opened and received. So Snapchat does delete messages once they're opened, but the important thing here is that someone did log into Chelsea's account at that time. So it could be Chelsea or someone else who has her phone, has access to her Snapchat account. Police tried to press the man who Rose talked to, but he would not give up the name of the man who left with Chelsea that night. He said he was afraid of him. He even said that strangers have like come up to him in the street and said if he talks about the missing girl, he's dead. Which I mean, I feel like makes his story a little more credible that he's like acknowledging
Yeah.
like what I don't know, just like why would
And
you
he
make up something like
stayed
that?
consistent. Like
Yeah.
he said the same thing to Rose in January 2019 that he said to police in
Hmm.
September 2016. And like we said, like this guy has aliases, like people are obviously scared of him, like this guy doesn't want to give the name because
Hmm.
you never want to do anything to put yourself at harm. So it's just like,
Yeah.
how are you not believing this guy at all?
It's like, why? And we know that people confess to things like they didn't do or whatever, but why would this guy admit to knowing what happened to her,
Mhm.
but refuse to give like additional information? But like you said, be consistent in his story that he does know what happened to her, but that he's afraid. Like, why would he even say that? Why wouldn't he just be like, oh no, I have no idea. I don't know
Yeah,
anything. Like,
it's very weird.
so obviously there are many questions left in this case. We don't know if Chelsea died on May 6th or 7th. Was it actually Chelsea on that surveillance footage from May 10th? Was she actually seen on Coney Island? There's just so many unknowns. Rose does have cards with Chelsea's information on them that she still hands out to people on the street. And Rose said that she tells Chelsea's son that his mom is in heaven and that he has an angel with him at all times. Rose does keep Chelsea's phone number active and texts her often and wants her to know that she'll never stop looking for her. She just wants to bring her home, however that is. The visitor from Coney Island Hospital who left Rose that voicemail was sentenced in March 2022 to 8 years in prison for selling heroin to an undercover officer in Poughkeepsie, New York. And the roommate also has several drug charges, as well as at least one charge for sex work. According to the Charlie Project, Chelsea was last seen wearing a New York Yankees jacket with a blue crest and gray sleeves, a black hooded sweat jacket, a black blouse, gray sweatpants with a white stripe down the side, chestnut-colored Uggs shoes, a silver chain with a silver Italian horn, and a silver ring with a sideways Roman Catholic cross. She was carrying a small black Coach shoulder bag and cloth bags. She is a Hispanic female with brown hair and brown eyes. She does have a lazy left eye, and her hair was blonde at the ends at the time of her disappearance. She has a nose ring in her left nostril, and both ears are pierced as well as her cartilage. She has a tattoo of the phrase, I fly with my own wings, on her left hip, and stretch marks on her stomach from her pregnancy. She has slightly rolled shoulders and wears prescription glasses with black frames. There is a $50,000 reward for information leading to Chelsea. If you know anything, please call NYPD's Missing Persons Squad at 212-694-7781, or you can mail something directly to Rose at P.O. Box 40-487, Brooklyn, New York 11204, and any tips can be anonymous. Rose is also working to design an app called 911missing.org. The app will instantly notify law enforcement, the media, and the public when someone disappears. It is still in development. They hope it will be out soon, but you can donate to help fund the app and find more information at 911missing.org. And the way that Rose kind of explained it at CrimeCon is like, it's kind of like a social media feed for like people, in a certain location, like if someone goes missing. So you can be like,
Mhm.
oh, this person is missing. Has anyone around here seen her? And like everyone who lives in that area who has the app will like get that person's photo immediately on their phone. So it's a really good way to make sure that missing persons information is shared more readily and not like you just happen to come across it,
Mhm.
on your social media, on the news, whatever it may be.
And we will put all that information, the NYPD phone number, Rose's P.O. box, and the 911missing.org into the show notes. You
Yeah.
don't have to like be driving and try to scribble it down or anything.
Yeah, don't do that.
That will all be in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about that. And please check out 911missing.org. Go to their website, get all the information. And once it's an app, please do download that and have access to that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the very tragic and still mysterious disappearance of Chelsea Cobo.
Yeah, just a really, really sad one. That
Yeah. And like her mom definitely just seems like such an amazing person. Like she is like doing absolutely everything she can and will not give up this fight until she has information, you know?
yeah, and it was such a privilege to get to hear her speak at like CrimeCon and like hear her story and
Yeah.
just everything she's trying to do for like families moving forward. And just, I don't know, it's just crazy to think about. Like New York City is such like a big city. There's so many people that someone can just like go missing and like not be seen again in like such
a populated area.
It's just crazy.
I feel like especially when in this case, like it's obvious that multiple people know what happened to her, but no one is willing to share everything that they know, you know, which is so hard. Like there were so many people in that house, so many people that know mostly what happened to her or have some information that could lead police to finding out exactly what happened to her, but they're not willing to share. Which again, remember, any of those tips can be anonymous. You could just share what you know anonymously.
And that's the thing too of like, if she was killed, like there would have to be multiple people who probably
help dispose of her body somewhere that wouldn't be found. I mean, it's New York City. There's not just like woods right around the corner.
Yeah.
You'd have to go somewhere. So
and Rose just definitely seemed like such an empathetic person. So like when people would get up and ask questions and they were like, oh, I'm so and so, and she's like, oh yeah, like she'd like met them before and she like remembered them and remembered like the name of their missing loved one and like would like tell other people in the audience like, oh, this is so and so and like she's here because of whatever, like sharing that person's story to like get the word out for them too. Like it was definitely like she's like, we're all in this together, like I'm here to help everyone I can kind of situation. And yeah, just really sad.
Yeah, and like one of the main reasons we went to that session was because Thursday, like I got to the hotel a little early and I went to the pool and I like heard her talking to people about how she was presenting and just kind of talking to like everyone. And then I looked her up and I was like, oh, that is her. It said Brooklyn, New York. I heard her accent. I was like, that is her.
Yeah,
I loved her. I loved her accent. I loved it so much. But just dedicating her life to like trying to bring her daughter home, like however that is.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, now that we've shared that very sad story with you, Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is I said that I was like outside a lot on Saturday, and that's because it was the 4th annual, I believe it was, So No Pride.
They do that every year down on this street that I live on. And they have all kinds of vendors and drag shows and bands and just a lot of stuff they kind of put up around here. And it's just always so nice. It is just so nice to be around people who are just so amazing and so lovely and so, I don't know, there's just so much love down here. And it's like you talk to people and you get your picture taken and people take pictures for you and you start talking and everyone, it's just this huge sense of community that's so needed. It's just amazing. And it's so nice to be able to down here and be able to celebrate. And, you know, June is Pride Month. And so I always love to come down and be a part of this in any way I can and show support in the best way I can.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a good like community event and really getting to see like the community come together for something positive, you know?
Yeah, it's fun. It's so fun.
But yeah, so that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that last night I finished an amazing book that Courtney actually got me for Christmas. Yes. So you can see how long it takes us to get to books around here. But it's called 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. And it was just, it was so amazing. Good. Just wonderful
So
story
good.
and like had like fun, like lighthearted stuff, but also had like serious topics. But it was really, really good. And I enjoyed it a lot and I very highly recommend it. So please check it out if you have not.
I would also recommend, let me find the book because we're going to shout out Black authors who write about Black love stories.
Yes.
Oh, but it has the same title as a Beyonce song. Hold on. It is called Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan.
Okay.
Absolutely fucking magnificent. So, so good. She has a second book out, I'm pretty sure. So I need to get on that and read it because Before I Let Go was just so, so good.
I'll have to check that one out too.
But yeah, whenever I read 7 Days in June, I liked it so much and I was like, Jacqueline will like this one.
So good.
I loved it. It was just and it took me like longer to read it than I wanted to just because I've been like so busy the past week. So it's like I really like every time I'm like, "Ugh, I just want to get my book.
Yeah.
Like I have all this stuff going on.
I just want to keep reading.
This is what it's done with my book. Okay.
That was me with Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez because I started it at CrimeCon and then like life got busy and I was like, I just want to read my book. Like, please just let me read my book.
Right. Always so hard when all you want to do is just be alone and read your book and you have to do adult responsibilities.
Yep.
But if you want to tell us about the books that you're reading, the Pride festivals that you went to during the month of June, if you know anything about this case, of course, please don't tell us. Please tell the appropriate authorities. But,
Yeah.
if you've heard of this case or, any thoughts, you guys know we just love to hear from you about whatever. We are in all the places on all the things. It's in the show notes. You can click and find us there. We're also on patreon.com/caffeinated crimes, where we do have several tiers starting at $3 a month up to $20 a month with various perks and gifts and all kinds of cool things for you guys. Monthly bonus episodes and ad-free episodes when we do have ads. Usually our two-parters early as long as we get them recorded on time. Discord where you can hang out with us. We do have some backlogged videos. We could do some more videos. We just got a lot of fun little things over there. So, join us and also let us know what you want to see there, and we'll try our best to make it happen.
And as always, sorry, I think fireworks are being shot off already.
I mean, it's July 2nd. That's pretty good for this area. We made it all the way to July.
Yeah, there was someone shooting them off like 2 weeks ago, and I was it was one of those moments, like I told Kevin, I was like, the sim is simming. Things had just been like happening all day where I'm like, it is a sim right now. And I was like, what if like the sim is like glitching and like they're 2 weeks ahead and it's 4th of July for them. But for us, it's actually 2 weeks before. And there's just like a big glitch in the sim right now. Because earlier that day we had, and sorry, going on a tangent here. If you want to tune off, you can. Sorry. But earlier that day, we were at trivia and my mom was asking me these like, can you name the Disney movie from like the song from the movie? And so then on the way home, I was listening to, I won't say I'm in Love by Hercules because I just loved that song. Hadn't listened to it in a while. Then as I was doing it, I got a snap from my sister, opened it up after the fact, and she was like, guess what movie I'm watching? And it was Hercules.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I was like, hold on. The sim is simming right now.
Wait a minute.
Majorly.
Things are happening.
I got really into the simming that night. I was like, they're 2 weeks ahead right now. Anyway.
You went down a rabbit hole.
I went down a rabbit hole in my brain.
Anyway, if you give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, wherever you can do that, like, subscribe on YouTube, the whole spiel.
You know the drill.
But in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.